In G1, day 1, we're looking at where the letter S says Z. So it might just be the letter S at the end of a word, or it might be SE at the end of a word. But quite often we have the letter S actually says Z, not S. It makes its Z sound more than it makes its S sound. So you can colour in the S1 colour and the SE a different colour in all of these words. And then we've got a third thing happening here. So this E is very busy in these words because not only is it making the letter S say Z, it's also making the letter O make its long sound O. So we'll highlight those in a different colour as well. So you need 3 colours. Okay, let's read those words and check what their meaning is. So we've got as, as, has, is, is, his, knows, knows, hose, hose, rose, rose, close, close, those, chose, chose. So let's see what they mean. You might say, your grandmother might say to you, oh, you're as sweet as pie, or you're as mighty as an ox, or as strong as an ox. This little boy has a box of toys, so it comes from the word have. I have an ice cream, I had an ice cream, he has an ice cream. Is, this is my house, this is, and if we go on to the next word, his, we've got this is his hat, belongs to him, these are his glasses, that is his nose, etc. So his usually means that it belongs to a male, a man or a boy. Nose, we've all got a nose on our face. Most animals have a nose to breathe through, or something to breathe through. A hose, you might see in the garden or in a car. It's a piece of tubing, often flexible, that liquid can flow through, or even some air can flow through. Rose is a rose in the garden. It can also mean, it's also the past tense of rise. So you might say, I rose early yesterday. So it can mean to get up. Close, we close the door, or we close our desk, etc. Those, where we're talking about something, so we're saying those apples look nice and crunchy. For instance, chose, that's when you pick something. So I chose the middle block. So chose comes from the word choose. Okay, let's read these words, sound them, spell them, and write them. So I've got as, 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 as. Check it, then do the next one, check it, and the next one. Now this is where it becomes very important to spell these words, because otherwise if you just sounded them, you might write a Z there rather than an S. So in this list we're particularly learning that you must use the S, the letter S, for the Z sound. So let's try one more. Has, as, 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 H-A-S, H-A-S, H-A-S. Cover it and write it 3 times without looking. Off you go. G1 day 2, we're revising that the S in a word may make it Z sound. In fact, the letter S says Z in words more than it says S. So if you listen to these words, you can hear it as, has, is, his, knows, knows, hose, rose, rose, close, close, those, chose. So you've already learned that the E on the end of a word can make the previous vowel make its long sound, and there's a consonant in between. So that's what's happening there too. We're revising that. But the main thing here is for you to recognise that S near the end of a word quite often says z. So let's read the word, sound the word, spell the word, and write it. So we've got as, as, and then you have to write it. Has, 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 cover it and write it. Is, is, So it's important to read the word, sound it, so you hear the sound, and then you have to spell it with the letters that we use in that word. So that's why you can see it's very important when you're writing a word like as, you sound it as, but you have to identify that it's the S making that Z sound. Down here it says copy and write yes or no. So the sentence says, we close a door gently. So you have to have a good look at that. When you think you can write it, cover it and write the whole sentence. And if you get stuck, you can have a quick look and then cover it again. And don't forget to put the full stop at the end. We close the door gently. Yes or no? That would be a yes. So you can finish those ones on your own. Copy and draw. So once again, when it's time to copy the sentence, make sure you cover it. Write as much as you can without looking. If you need a little peek, you can have one. And you've got a space here to draw the picture. Write a list word that means shut. Well, it would mean, I would probably use the word close in there. You can finish the rest of those. Here you're making some new words. We've got nose, rose, close, chose, those. Just have to write them on those lines. G1, day 3, we're revising where S says z, and it often says z at the end of a word. So listen as we say these words. As, has, is, his, nose, nose, hose, rose, close, those, chose. You can also hear in a lot of these words we've got a long vowel sound, and to make those vowels make their long sound, we put an E on the end of these words. So you might like to highlight that as well. Okay, so down here it says opposites. What's the opposite to hers? You have to find the list word, open, and these. Now over this side we've got singular and plural. So if you only have one of something, we say one nose. If you have two, we say two noses. So all we have to do is add the S onto nose to make it say noses. If we have one rose, we'd say rose, but if we have a bunch of them, we'd say roses. So once again, you only have to add the S to the end of it. Verb families, verbs are things that we can do. So choose, chooses, choosing, and we don't say choosed, we say chose. So chose is our list word, so that's a nice easy one for you to write. Here you've got closes, closing, closed. You have to find the base word of those extended verbs. Put in alphabetical order. Now this is going to be a tricky one because you do have two words starting with an H. So be aware when you go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, you've got two with H, so you can't go with the first letter, you've got to look to the second letter. So does an A come before an I or an I come before an A? You know the A comes first in the alphabet, so you'd have has before his when you're listing them in alphabetical order. Write the list words that rhyme with as, so you can find the ones that rhyme with that. Nose, there's a few, and his. Write the base word for each word. We've got chosen and disclose. So you just have to find what the base word is. Take away the bits we've added on to work out what that might be. Read and draw, and there's a little spot for the picture there, and you have to do finish off what the man is saying there. This is G1 day 4 and we're looking at interest words that are to do with clothes and making lists. So label the clothes, that's fairly easy, you can see that's a hat. So a lot of these words you would be able to spell. We've got vest, belt, etc. You can write those in. Singular, plural, if we have one of something, it's singular. So if it's a dress, we would just have dress, but if it's more than one, it's a plural. The plural form of dress is dresses. So sometimes you have to add es at the end. If you hear is at the end, you know you're going to write es. If you just hear an s, a sound, you're just going to write an s. So dress, dresses. You're hearing the is, so you're writing the es at the end. Shirt, one shirt, or two shirts. So if you're only hearing the s, you're only writing the s. You can finish these on your own. We've got thongs, coats and skirts. You can finish those off. Over this side it says design a summer uniform. It could be for your team sport or it could be for your school. Or a winter uniform for your school or for a sport that you play.